मिशन लाइफ का मंत्र है लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। पृथ्वी पर रहने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को व्यक्तिगत प्रयासों की कामना के साथ ही आज ये मिशन लाइफ का ये विजन दुनिया के सामने रख रहा है। मिशन लाइफ का मंत्र है लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। पृथ्वी पर रहने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को व्यक्तिगत प्रयासों की कामना के साथ ही आज ये मिशन लाइफ का ये विजन दुनिया के सामने रख रहा हूं।
प्रकृति बेटा, पृथ्वी पर तुम्हें क्या करना है तुम्हें पता है ना?
मुझे लोगों को प्यार से इंस्पायर और लाइफ के लिए एजुकेट करना है ताकि वो नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज का उपयोग कर इस पृथ्वी को बचाए रखें।
इसमें तुम्हारी मदद करेंगी ये 3 चीजें। पहली, टियारा ऑफ फ्लावर्स जो तुम्हें हमेशा हैप्पी और एनर्जेटिक रखेंगे। दूसरा, ये बैज ऑफ लाइफ जो लोगों को पर्यावरण के लिए लाइफ जीवन शैली की याद दिलाएगा। जब वे प्रकृति की रक्षा करेंगे तो प्रकृति उनकी रक्षा करेगी। तुम ये बैज उन लोगों को भी दे सकते हो जो हमारे प्लानेट की बेहतरी के लिए योगदान करते हैं। और तीसरा, ये बैग ऑफ होप जब भी कोई एनवायरनमेंट को हार्म करे तो तुम इसमें से इको सस्टेनेबल ऑल्टरनेटिव निकाल कर उसे देना।
ओके, अब मैं अपने मिशन पर चलती हूँ। है एक जीवन, है एक मिशन, आओ हम सब मिलकर करें पर्यावरण संरक्षण, पर्यावरण संरक्षण। हर पल गांव और शहर शहर चले इको फ्रेंडली डिस्पोजेबल्स की लहर लहर। कारपूल को अब सब जने अपनाएंगे, अपना शॉपिंग बैग साथ ले जाएंगे। सस्टेनेबल लाइफस्टाइल का है नारा, है ये लक्ष्य हमारा हमारा हमारा। अब हर जन एक पेड़ लगाएगा, पर्यावरण को स्वच्छ बनाएगा। हो सबकी भागीदारी तो खुशियां हरदम।
पर्यावरण, वन और जलवायु परिवर्तन मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
Hi, good evening, everyone. Am I audible to everyone? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Hi, Sidharth. So we'll start around four, like just wait for 2 or 3 minutes. People are still joining. So just wait for 2 or 3 minutes.
मिशन लाइफ का मंत्र है लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। पृथ्वी पर रहने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को व्यक्तिगत प्रयासों की कामना के साथ ही आज ये मिशन लाइफ का ये विजन दुनिया के सामने रख रहा हूं।
प्रकृति बेटा, पृथ्वी पर तुम्हें क्या करना है तुम्हें पता है ना?
मुझे लोगों को प्यार से इंस्पायर
और लाइफ के लिए
एजुकेट करना है ताकि वो नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज का उपयोग कर इस पृथ्वी को बचाए रखें।
इसमें तुम्हारी मदद करेंगी ये 3 चीजें। पहली, टियारा ऑफ फ्लावर्स, जो तुम्हें हमेशा हैप्पी और एनर्जेटिक रखेंगे। दूसरा, ये बैज ऑफ लाइफ, जो लोगों को पर्यावरण के लिए लाइफ जीवन शैली की याद दिलाएगा। जब वे प्रकृति की रक्षा करेंगे तो प्रकृति उनकी रक्षा करेगी। तुम ये बैज हो जो हमारे प्लानिट की बेहतरी के लिए योगदान करते हैं। और तीसरा, ये बैग ऑफ होप, जब भी कोई एनवायरनमेंट को हार्म करे तो तुम इसमें से इको सस्टेनेबल ऑल्टरनेटिव निकाल कर उसे देना।
ओके, अब मैं अपने मिशन पर चलती हूँ। है एक जीवन, है एक मिशन, आओ हम सब मिलकर करें पर्यावरण संरक्षण, पर्यावरण संरक्षण। हर पल गांव और शहर शहर चले इको फ्रेंडली डिस्पोजेबल्स की लहर लहर। कारपूल को अब सब जन अपनाएंगे, अपना शॉपिंग बैग साथ ले जाएंगे। सस्टेनेबल लाइफस्टाइल का है नारा, है ये लक्ष्य हमारा हमारा हमारा। अब हर जन एक पेड़ लगाएगा, पर्यावरण को स्वच्छ बनाएगा। हो सबकी भागीदारी तो खुशियां हरदम।
पर्यावरण, वन और जलवायु परिवर्तन मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
Hi, good evening, everyone. So we shall start right now. Am I audible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another webinar by Fitsol. Today's topic is Towards the Net Zero Bharat, Sustainable MSME powered by Fitsol Kyoto. My name is Arman Ahmad, as we know, and I lead partnership at Fitsol, and I'm delighted to host today's session. As we know, this year Union Budget recognized MSME as one of the 4 pillars of India's growth. Rightly so, with 5.9 crore enterprises employing 25 crore people and driving 46% of export, MSME are truly the backbone of our economy. But to stay competitive, MSME must now integrate sustainability not just to cut emission and cost, but also to access green finance, global supply chain, and long-term resilience. That's exactly where Fitsol Kyoto comes in. It is an AI-powered platform designed to make decarbonization simple, measurable, and practical for MSME. We are joined today by our net zero mentors, Mr. Shree, Prakash, Shukla, and Mr. Sidharth, Sekhar, who will share their insights on how MSME can lead on sustainability. So let me do an announcement. I request you to stay with us till last. We'll be sharing a short survey to select the Fitsol Kyoto Net Zero Maharathi first batch, who will receive free access to the Fitsol Kyoto platform. So I would like to request to all of you to stay till last. We will select the first batch of Fitsol Kyoto Maharathi. Now, thank you for being here, and I would like to invite Mr. Sidharth to take this session forward. Over to Sidharth.
Hey, Arman, thanks. And really great to be hosting all of you today, walking you through what is happening with the MSMEs and what can be done with the MSMEs, right? I'm Sidharth. I work in the strategy team at Fitsol, along with the founding team on a greener supply chain and sustainability initiatives. To give you all a context, right? I'm looking at sharing the agenda of what is it that we are going to be following, right? I think Arman has beautifully started the thing. I'll be walking you through is a bit detailed or a bit briefly about what Pixel is as a platform. Followed by that, we'll also walk you through why MSMEs are very important as far as India's decarbonization goal and how the regulations will be impacting MSMEs in the next 2 to 3 years as far as India is concerned. Followed by that, we thought we'll also show you from a product perspective what can be enabled for MSME, right? I think accounting, reporting, and GHG emissions are not everyone's kettle. MSMEs require their own set of right from engagement models of pricing till support in terms of going green. We'll just walk you through the product and we will tell you how easy it is for MSMEs to be in our platform. And finally, followed by that, I think an extension of whatever we are doing is also on the sustainability front. And our platform is powered by AI. We have our chief engineer, Shree, in this call. He'll also be walking you through the ESG module and AI-powered Copilot, which we are building, or which is being built and which is going to get deployed in the next few days for our clients, and how that can help you as a live demo, right? So this is what we are looking to share. First and foremost, I think if you look at it, I'm just going to share my screen. You guys let me know if it's visible, Arman. Yeah. Are you able to see it?
Yes, Sidharth, you are visible.
Yeah. Right. So to give you guys a context of what Fitsol is a decarbonization as a service platform, right? We drive profit and loss spins, we future-proof the business, and we make compliant. We ensure that everybody is compliant as far as regulations is concerned, and we are pan-India, right? Leadership team across different categories, very heavily on the scope 3 front, who work with big companies such as Motherson, TVS Supply Chain. We also have Akshay, who is the CPO, who was the Economic Times Young Leader for 2014, who's been on product front for 13 to 14 years covering the SaaS, right? To just give a bit of context, considering not a lot of people in here are only from the sustainability domain, as far as carbon emissions are concerned, right? What essentially they are you can call them as your carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, which are basically gases which get emitted for every action that we as humans do, right? The biggest impact or why they are harmful is because whatever these gases which when are emitted into the atmosphere, they trap heat, which creates global warming, which means the globe is kind of heating. This causes extreme weather events, rising sea level, endangering everyone. And to put it into context or into numbers, it looks at close to $178 trillion that is going to cost everyone as far as the monetary impact is concerned, which is also the reason why every government in the world is actually kind of looking to come up with climate regulations, because these losses are only going to increase, right? To give you a very overlying breakdown, the emissions are broken down to scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, right? Scope 1 is directly from your operations. For example, if you own a vehicle or if you own diesel, genset, there are close to 3 categories in this. Scope 2 is basically from your purchased electricity, purchased steam, that comes purchased electricity from your grid, etc. And scope 3 is basically from your value chain. It could be upstream or downstream emissions, right? I think the most important thing as far as anything regarding GHG and sustainability is concerned is there is no single source of truth for anybody to solve this problem, right? Datas are very siloed. And what essentially happens is that considering they are not interconnected, it becomes a hassle to, get this data. Followed by this, if you're doing, especially on the scope 3 front, which is for large enterprises, they get from the players who are supplying to them. There is no accountability from the vendor in terms of the data that they are providing to the bigger OEMs. Essentially, then what happens is that the data goes for a toss, which means the calculations also go for a toss. Followed by that, reporting based on standards is too slow. I think climate, GHG, and sustainability are heavily regulation dependent. What this essentially means is that as and when new regulations are set up, be it global or be it national, essentially it becomes a problem for anybody to keep track of them. Uh, an extension of that is also compliance is a moving target. What do we mean by that? Is as I communicated, regulations keep changing, be it Indian and global, and it becomes a hassle to keep track. And finally and foremost, I think it eats into a lot of time for a sustainability person or a data collection person, right? Right from collating different data from different suppliers, even within internally as teams. If you're going to collect data on electricity, something comes from a plant head, followed by that, some data comes from the supply chain team. So it becomes a hassle for anybody to look at data collection, right? So these are the main problems that we are solving for. Then comes to, I think, why is it that we are looking at MSMEs, right? If you look at India as a country, India has a nationally determined contribution, which is basically a goal, where compared to 2005, India is looking at a 45% reduction as far as emission intensity is concerned on the GDP. So what this essentially means is that the government is going to start putting more regulations for everybody to be compliant. The India's own CCTS is going to kick in the next few months, where you have 8 to 9 sectors. I mean, you can look at chemical, you can look at chlor and alkali. There is Indian steel in that. Followed by that, there are 5 or 6 other sectors. And these regulations are only going to keep getting added on to more sectors in the next year or two. So essentially, there's going to be a trickle down effect, which is the first one. India's regulation on listed companies will see a trickle down effect. So if you're already part of a if you're supplying to a top 1,000 company, what you essentially will happen is that they will start asking you for data. Secondly, as I mentioned to you, India's nationally determined contributions target. Third thing is, I think not a lot of people know this, but if you're going to do GHG accounting and reporting, figure out the hotspots, there is a lot of cost saving angle to this, right? Right from 7% to 35%. We've seen real life cases of where we are working on in terms of bringing in that cost savings through decarbonization efforts. And finally, what we are seeing is there is a strategic advantage. What do we mean by that is the larger OEMs or larger players are starting to look at green supply chain, are starting to look at GHG and ESG reports for selecting their vendors. So essentially, this means that it becomes a strategic advantage for anybody doing this, right? So as far as decarbonization is concerned, I think it's a combination. Wherever you are, this is essentially the roadmap that you will have to follow, right? You need to measure and track your emissions. Followed by that, usually what happens is there is something called an SBTI or Science-Based Target Initiative where you need to go and set up your own goals, which the larger companies will also be asking for. Finally, then you're looking at tracking and measuring. And then the net zero transition is essentially work with somebody on reducing your emissions. So across this journey, it's a combination of technology plus different consulting services that gets provided for anybody doing it. And this is exactly where any MSME or any kind of corporation will have to look for, right? So I think let me not bore you more with the presentation and deck. This is just to basically set up an introduction to folks who are joining in here who do not come from the sustainability background. Followed by this, what I would do is move into the product, where we walk you through what the product offers for from our end, and what is it that you also can measure through that, which will give you an idea of what we are doing. If you have any questions, please do put it on the chat bot. Sorry, please do put it on the messaging box, and we'll be able to take it up at the end of the session, right? So if everyone's able to view the screen, right? So this is a live version of the product where we are looking at. From an emissions perspective, what you can see on the dashboard is something called the total emissions, which is basically how much a particular company is completely emitting. And at an overlying level within the initial dashboard itself, you can see the scope 1 or scope 2 or scope 3 emissions with how much ever they are emitting. Followed by that, considering this for this particular webinar, we've just created a demo account on the live version so that like one partner which is getting added for, but how much a partner is emitting and what is their breakdown. Followed by that, we have something called Green Find, which we are building, which is an exclusive marketplace for our for our clients. what GreenFind essentially does is there are going to be AI agents which will be reading the scope 1 and scope 2 data, and they'll automatically map you to different sustainability solutions providers who can help you reduce the scope 1 and scope 2. And this comes with an ROI, which essentially means that once you start adopting this, you're going to see a return on investment from a monetary perspective, right? Uh, as I've already mentioned, we are compliant to India's BRSR. CBAM and CBPI is something that is the rank that we will be working on. Along with that, if you're looking at emissions, what you need to understand is if you're working across, 2 or 3 manufacturing units, and if you have multiple assets or multiple vehicles, they need to get added onto your structure. So you can essentially add it onto your organizational structure in terms of how many facilities you have, how many assets you have. We'll share one such example of adding an asset or a facility. And also along with that, what essentially is required is also if you're a company, then you're a team. A plant head might have access to electricity data, while a supply chain person might have access to your scope 3 or value chain. So the ability for anybody to get added into the platform to enter data on their relevant scopes. So that is another thing that you can do with the platform. And finally, we also have what you can call a PCF, which is basically a product carbon footprint, which is now being asked by different big tier 1 OEMs or companies to understand the product carbon footprint, right? So let me just start. I think how simple the platform itself is basically I say carbon accounting, I say add new emissions, and we go into the different scopes that are there, right? I'll go into scope 2 and I'll pick electricity because it's something that everybody can easily relate to, right? So as far as electricity is concerned, we give you 3, or not only electricity across the platform, we have 3 options for you to enter data, right? You can directly enter it as a form entry here in one particular for a particular month with start dates and end dates. Yeah. Then you just say select facility. I'm just going to select a facility from the demo, and then I say you can calculate it as an activity or a spend based. These are 2 ways in which emissions are calculated. I'm just going to say how much kilowatt hour of electricity that is there, and then I say calculate emissions. Oh, sorry. End date. So it's essentially flagging that I've mistakenly given it for 1.5 months. So 1 sec. Yeah. So essentially, the moment you just give the data, it will tell you how much of emissions that your particular plant or a particular company is emitting for this particular scope for that particular month. And it also tells you from the electricity how much, and there is also transport and distribution of that emissions. And once you have a review of this, you say something called add to your emissions data, and this data which you've just looked at automatically gets added, right? If you want. Next up is we also have the feature of bulk upload as a CSV, which means essentially we have a sample template, and you just need to take that template, download that template down, enter the data on a month, on a yearly level across months, and you upload it directly, and it automatically gets created. But the feature which a lot of our companies or manufacturing units really like is the try with AI feature, where you essentially just have to upload the bill for a particular unit or a particular plant, and you just select the facility in which you are actually providing the bill and the type of electricity, whether it's coming from the grid or whether it's renewable, and then you hit next. And it automatically will take in the data from that bill, and it will automatically calculate the emissions, right? Just a minute, it's just processing it. You can see that while the data is getting added, there is a processing symbol here. We will come back to this particular bill in 2 or 3 minutes time once I walk you through over the rest of the modules, so that this processing time can actually take in and the data is actually there for it to be pushed, right? So as far as data entry is concerned, we are making it very simple. Anybody can enter the data in multiple formats, and in just a click of a button, everything happens, right? Once the data is entered, what essentially you will need to also understand is where are my emissions, which are my emissions hotspot, right? Because this becomes the insights based on which you want to create your decarbonization journey. So what we can look at is scope-wise emissions. How much is your scope 1? How much is your scope 2? How much is your scope 3? At an organizational level or at a facility level, if you want to do a comparison, that also can get enabled within the platform. And followed by that, which are the top contributing factors in your scope 3, whether is it the use of sold products, Is it your investments? Is it your mobile combustion? Across all of this, there is analytics that gets provided for anybody to, kind of look at it and see which are the decarbonization or GHG things that they need to look for, right? And as far as the reporting is concerned, you can look at, you can, press the buttons on scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3, and we also look at what are the water footprint reports and biogenic emissions report that come as an analytics, right? Followed by this, we also have a single click reporting, which is essentially another most important thing, right? Because more often than not, these are compliant requirements, either asking from clients or regulations. So we just hit the start date and end date across all categories. We say download sustainability report. And a report automatically gets generated, right? Considering it's a dummy account, you'll be seeing a dummy report. If your Arman, is my report screen visible?
Yes, it's visible, Sidharth.
Yeah. So here, if you can look at the report that got generated, it states from the start date and end date. It tells what is the methodology that was used to arrive at this report. It breaks down the company profile, the emissions breakdown, what is the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, and finally, and most importantly, more often than not, you'll need to understand which are the emission factors used across which database, right? So across all of this report gives a complete overview of a client in terms of which sector they are, which is the location, what are the number of employees. Right now, there is an NA because we haven't entered in this a demo account. But essentially, it's a single click reporting which goes to a particular client, and the report gets generated where it becomes a hassle-free process, right? So this is where, as far as a single click reporting is concerned. Now, moving back to the platform in itself, I think we were looking at the view data of the data which we had uploaded from the bill, right? Yeah. If you, Arman, if you're back to the SaaS screen, can you just confirm?
Yes, yes.
So here, the PDF that we've uploaded is ready for review. I'm just clicking on it, and you'll be able to see what was the bill that was uploaded, right? And what were all the consumption for that particular bill, and what was the amount spent, what was the currency, what was the start date and end date, right? So here in the units, you pick a unit, the source, you say grid, and say renewable, and then you say submit for calculation, and it's automatically going to get mapped to electricity as a feature. And this feature is not only enabled for electricity, but across any of the different categories that we have. This feature is enabled to ensure that only with just the bill upload, your emissions and everything is going to get calculated, right? Followed by this, we also, I think, what we also have is something called change logs, which is another most sought out thing. Because as far as the data is concerned, you need, and considering multiple people from the same company work on this, everybody likes to understand from which point who is changing the data and for what reason, right? So as far as the change logs feature is concerned, you'll have complete visibility on who is the person who is performing what kind of an action within the platform, for you to have very clear view of what is happening within the platform. And finally, I think another most important feature which we are great at is the value chain mapping, right? Essentially, you don't want only the scope 1 and scope 2, but the scope 3. And your suppliers' scope 1, scope 2 kind of gets mapped to scope 3 of a particular company. So here we have a single click feature called add connection, where we say we hit the form, and where you just have to fill in the details of a particular company here. And all you have to do is, for that partner, you just hit the GST ID, and automatically their company name gets pulled in here. And then you just hit a company website URL, you say company sector. I'm just going to give a random here because this is a demo. And then I hit next. What are the services that they're providing? What is the purchase order value and the amount that they provide? Just going to give a proof here. PDF, just case, right? I hit next. You say the POC's name. You say the POC number, sorry, email, and then their phone number. And you hit submit. And that particular person automatically gets an email. And once they kind of accept it, they'll get access to the same platform, and all they have to do is just enter the data and your partner's scope 3 on your partner scope 1 and scope 2 kind of gets mapped to you as a scope 3, right? So in a single click, we enable for a different clients the making the process of carbon accounting and reporting very easy and very seamless, right? So as far as the platform is concerned on the carbon accounting and reporting front, these are the main things that a client has to look for, and which we enable for our clients and add value for. Along with this, there are a couple of more features. I think Shree would be better placed to walk you through them on the ESG one, and then the other exciting aspect of AI agents which we are using, which will kind of create a lot of buzz. Shree, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sidharth. I hope I am audible.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You're
Yeah,
audible.
thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining this webinar and giving us opportunity to show you what we are building, what we have been working on lately. I think whatever Sidharth has discussed and displayed to you, I think I will just give an extension of that. So there are a few other things that we are actively working, and it will be available to the live users very soon. So there will be two things that we'll be presenting. One is the ESG assessment, where we will evaluate the companies on the basis of the three pillars: environment, social, and governance. So that's one feature that I think a lot of companies do require as part of a compliance. And the other part is we want to, so I think whatever you have seen in the journey is like, there are a lot of clicks that one needs to do in order to do the carbon accounting. So we want to minimize that. So yeah, so we are trying to build something cool where you can do a lot of things using Copilot. So yeah, let's get over to the demo. Let me share the screen. Is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
Shree,
yes,
go on.
Shree, yes.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, so we will go through with the SG assessment firstly, and then we will go to the Copilot. So it's our client landing dashboard. So yeah, we have clients where we provide a login, a user, whenever user logs in, we just land to the user's dashboard, and from the carbon accounting, one can go to the Fitsol ESG assessment. So yeah, for demo purpose, I have already created one ESG assessment. At the end, I will also show how to create it. But I think it's a bit more meaningful if I have a running assessment, because then I can talk about the features, what we are doing, what people can do. So yeah, so once a user creates an assessment, so what happens basically, there are a set of three pillars. Yeah. So there are a set of three pillars on which we evaluate the companies, basically how they're going about it. So one is environmental, social, and governance. And let's go to the continuous assessment. I think this is the most important part. So yeah, so there are a bunch of sections in the environment. If you could see here, it's like environmental leadership strategy, climate strategy, and these sections will have a set of questions. And questions might be single selection, multi-selection, depending upon the nature of the question. And user has to select these questions, and on the basis of these selections, we provide a score. And once this reports get submitted, if I just go to back, so this score, what you are saying, it's basically dependent upon what questions have been answered and what options have been chosen. Depending upon that, we keep on changing the score. Now, let's go here. Yeah. So whenever I create assessment, so user will be presented with these environment, social, governance sections. And here, what user could do, he could assign a section basically. So he could go to the assign sections, and he can select. So user could add a user. So the client admin can add a user. It's like a Spock user. Maybe let me click on this. So let's suppose maybe you want to answer, you want maybe human resource, you want to assign someone from human resource to answer some questions on environment front, or maybe social front or governance front. So you can create an SPOC by choosing the team. You can add a mobile number, and then you can basically. So just giving the. Okay. So user have been created. So now what you could do, you could select this user. and then you can assign a specific section to this particular user. So now this user will be responsible for answering the questions of those assigned sections. And similarly, you can assign, you can create multiple users, and you can assign one section to each user. One user can have a multiple sections, and you can assign these sections to the users, and then user can individually basically answer this question and submit it. So let's suppose if I assign these two. So here, if you see, so this was a section I have assigned. So it says, okay, this section has been assigned to Prakash. But yeah, I have already responded it. That's why it's showing this progress 100. And here I could change the answers. Yeah, and I could save the progress also. So it's like, because it's a lengthy form, it might not be possible for us to complete the whole form in one go. So you can progressively keep on submitting the progress. And once you have submitted every answer, so let me try to complete this so that I could submit on the assessment basically. Let me quickly select the remaining questions. This is 100%, this is 100%. This is 0%, go with this one. This one. Okay, let me check whether everything is completed. Okay, governance is still. It's still 81.82. So this is completed. This section is completed. This is completed. This is completed. This is completed. Okay. So if you see, whenever I complete this, then automatically once I save it, it changes the progress also. And I think there are a few questions that's pending on the environment front. So maybe I'm good for there. Yeah. So once so how it works? So this client admin will assign sections to the users, and individual users will log in and then submit the questions. Once the progress is 100% across all the sections, the environment, social, and governance, now the customer has an option to submit the assessment, or customer could also, the client admin can also update the answers that have been submitted from the respective scopes. So let's suppose if I want to submit the assessment, I can click on submit assessment. It will ask for the confirmation. If I click it, then yeah, it's submitted. So here you could see, it's not getting refreshed. Yeah. So yeah, so there was an ongoing assessment. Once I submitted it, basically then it becomes completed. And here you could see the overview of this. Okay, what was the status? What was the score? And depending upon the score, we assign the grade. And for individual pillars, we also score, okay, what's the score on environmental, social, and governance. And we have a charts also for analytics purpose, so that you could also understand, okay, in the respective pillars where you are standing right now. So this is for the environment. So I think the highest score was 80. And then you can take a look at what's the lowest score, which is 14.2. So that will give you indication, okay, what is the section that you have to basically focus more on, so that you could improve your compliance and the regulatory requirements. And similarly, you could also see the score across multiple subsection. Okay, it's just the representation. So we are just using this data to represent a radar chart. Your radar chart is very meaningful if you want to compare across subcategories, and this is the bar chart. And similarly, you could have the similar visualization for social and for the governance. Okay. So in this way, any organization, any customer can actually do its assessment. Now, as part of this assessment, there is also a requirement where we need to ask our partners to do their ESG assessment, because that's also required as part of this assessment part. So if you go to the partners tab, okay, so for this particular organization, we have 6 partners, okay, and when I started this assessment, I have already nudged my partners, okay, this is you have to fill your ESG assessment, and that's why you could see here 2 partners have been sent assessment request, and you could also see the progress of the assessments that your partner is doing. So top 3, Calendar, Rockman, and the Premier, basically is their assessments are ongoing, and basically rest of the 2, basically they haven't started. So here also you could also see, okay, what all partners, what the status of the assessment, and you can also nudge them. So let's suppose if they haven't started, you can click on this, and basically there will be an email that will ask the partners, okay, there is a assessment that's pending from this particular organization. Please go ahead with that. And if there is an ongoing, if there is a delay, you could also nudge them for them. Okay, so in this way, it's like a 360-degree. You are filling your own assessment, and you are nudging your partners to do their assessment, and you can have all this information available at one place. You could also, and if you see here, I think it's not submitted. Otherwise, the view would be like this. Let me try to open if that works. Okay, it's not, because I think none of our partners have submitted because it's a demo account. So what happens? So once the partners update their ESG assessment, so we would have a similar view like this even for our partners, where we could view their ESG assessment, how their scores are, and if there is something that we want to discuss with them or to improve them, that we could also do it. So that's the ESG assessment right now. I think we will be making it live soon. There are a few things that we are still working on. And also there is, let me show you one more thing. So whatever assessment you have done in the past, you can download it also. Let me open the, just give me a second. Let me open the sample. Yeah. I hope you could see the document.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So this is the sample document that will be available once the ESG assessment is done. So one can download it and can share it with other stakeholders wherever you need it. So whatever you are seeing as part of the analytics and the details, all those things are captured in sort of an executive summary. And it's a very useful document like we had for the carbon accounting. Similarly, this document can be used for sharing it with your compliance team or maybe regulatory team or some others. Anything on this ESG assessment before I move to the co-pilot? Just
Is there any question from anyone you can ask, Shree?
Yeah. Sorry?
I'm just telling the participant, is there any question they can ask to you? Is there any question from anyone?
I hope I was able to convey what we have built.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
To the co-pilot.
Okay, cool. So let's move to the co-pilot. So the co-pilot is basically it's like your day-to-day SME for ESG, because as you know, I think I have also recently joined in this domain. So it's a domain is very new. I think there are a lot of things, there are a lot of jargons, and there is a lot of knowledge, domain knowledge that one needs to understand to basically work around it. So it's like so this co-pilot will work in 2 ways. One is this co-pilot will act as a SME for you, where you could ask the all the clarifying questions regarding ESG domain, and also it will help you in order to do your carbon accounting and other, I think, carbon emission activities that you want to do. So let's go ahead with the demo. So let's suppose if I want to ask what is CSG protocol. Okay. Now let's say it will give you, it's a scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. I could ask, okay, elaborate on scope 3, because scope 3 is something that is it requires a lot of detail. Let's say if I ask elaborate on the scope 3. So yeah, so whatever queries you have, instead of Googling it and going it somewhere, you can use our Copilot, because this is trained particularly in ESG domain. So we are using LLM models from Google, and we are having our own self-hosted model also. But yeah, we will be training more on the ESG specific domain. So there are a lot of reports that's available in the public domain. There are a lot of case studies that's available in public domain. So what we will do as part of improving it further as SME for ESG, we will be training on those specific data sets. So that will be more helpful if you use this Copilot to understand more about the ESG domain. So that's one part of it. It's like your Copilot to understand the ESG. The other thing that we have been working on is basically we want to improve or simplify the carbon accounting process, because right now we started with the form. Okay, you have to fill a form, and then carbon accounting happened. Then we got to know, okay, this might not scale because user might have a file, CSV files and all those things. Then we move to the CSV, where you will provide some data in CSV, and then we will understand what data it has, what scope and category it has, and then we will do the carbon accounting. Then we move to the PDFs, because we understood, okay, there are a lot of use cases where we will have a bill. So it makes sense to basically build that feature. Now we are pushing that boundary tool further. What you can do, you can basically do your carbon accounting right within the ESG Copilot. So let's say I will just take a sample file. So basically, let's suppose you have a file where you have some details about your scope 1 consumptions, and you want to calculate the emissions. And then using the same Copilot, you want to ingest in our Kyoto platform. So whatever Sidharth was mentioning, the view data and other things. So we will try to ingest this data so that we can view the data on the client view section. So let me go ahead with that. So what I will do, I will take one sample scope 1 mobile combustion file, and then I will ask you, okay, calculate emissions. It didn't format the response. Let me try it again. Let me create a new chat. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so if you see, so I have provided the what's the activity, and I have provided the fuel used amount or the money wherever it's relevant. And depending upon the date of transaction, it actually fetched the emission factors from climatic. And then basically it gives you what's the approximate carbon emission would have happened for these entries. So it's just showing the breakdown of those calculations. And at the end, it also asking you, do you want to save this data in Kyoto? So let's suppose yes. Save it in Kyoto. Okay. So it's just showing you, okay, whatever data we had, we have successfully sent to. The scope was scope 1, category was this, and there was total 5 entries. If you want to see the data, you have to navigate this. So let me go through the login. Let me log out from here. I will just copy link. So this was the data that I have submitted on the Copilot. So I have been trying, so whether the demo is working or not. So this is the latest entry that we directly pushed from within Copilot. And if you click on this, so you could see whatever we were showing on the Copilot, same emissions are getting registered here itself. So basically what we want to do, so we are able to do with the first scope 1 and scope 2. We are working on enabling this automatic ingestion for scope 3 also, so that later on, maybe if you want to do the carbon accounting, you can do everything right within the Copilot itself. Okay. And one thing is that what we are doing. Oh. So yeah, so somehow hello, can you hear me? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not able to remove this annotate button. So I just wanted to show. So we are using two LLM models. So we are using the Google Cloud one, and we also have our own LLM hosted model. So if there are some use cases or there are some clients that there is a need, we don't want to send our data to the cloud, I think we can leverage our own self-hosted LLM model in order to do this. I think LLM reasoning and the post-processing that we are doing it here. So that's about the Copilot. So we will keep on adding a lot of things, but the eventual goal is whatever you want to do in the context of carbon accounting and basically helping you to take the net zero goals and you want to track it. We want to embed every capability right within the Copilot, so that it becomes very easy for you to basically work around it.
So one question, Shree.
Yeah.
From Sahana, can this be used by any industry? For example, textile exporters?
Yeah, it can be used by any industry. I think it doesn't restrict on the basis of the industry.
To give you context, Sahana, we are for any kind of a manufacturing platform. The platform is being built for any kind of manufacturer, irrespective of them being in textile, irrespective of them being in thermal power, irrespective of them being automotive, right? So all data that is being trained on in the Copilot in the carbon accounting and reporting is industry agnostic, and we are looking at in the future, right? If you look at it, it's also voice enabled, this Copilot. You can attach different kinds of files, and just imagine we are looking at connecting this to different systems for data within a company. So it's limitless in terms of just automatically getting connected, and it automatically just helps somebody within an MSME or an enterprise calculate emissions and ESG on the go. So that is the idea.
Correct. And also, whatever the emission factors that we're using in this whole process, so we are partnered with the Climatic. So Climatic is the global leader in providing the emission factors. So I think which industry you are in, whatever you are doing, I think we have a way to find out the emissions for you.
So is there any question apart from Sahana's question? Any doubt? Because the purpose of this webinar is to help the MSME, how we can be they can be ready for they can become ESG compliant.
Correct.
Yes,
yeah, I think it will be very helpful for us also to understand if there are very specific use cases that one needs to, so that we could also build upon that and help you in order to achieve your sustainability goals. So yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, there's one question. Yes, Mr. Ahmad, even ask your question.
Yeah, please go ahead. I think.
Yes, Mr. Amit, you can ask your question.
So Amit has asked, will it be helpful in benchmarking industries based on units? Sometimes
Sometime.
units
So-
Units keep changing.
I'll take this question, Mr. Amit. See, essentially, hear you on the units part of it. Essentially, that is why, from a comparison benchmarks perspective, there is something called intensity metrics, which essentially will help you compare the emissions based on a particular comparable. It could be revenue, it could be employee, it could be particular, category within an industry. And different industries will look at different intensity metrics. Fundamentally, depending upon the industry, which is decided by different climate experts. So hope that answers. If you have any follow-up questions, please let us know. Can we use this strategy for the cement industry? I think Mr. Ajay Negi has asked. Yes, cement is one of the most high-emitting sectors. If you look at it, especially on the scope one part, in the calcination process, they are very high. But as I communicated, we are industry agnostic. Our platform, our Copilot, everything is being trained on across industries, right? Because we wanted to reach the hands of folks from different industries to enable a green India, and which is also the reason why we also going MSME specific, because every other platform they just the nuances to understand an MSME, right, from a commercial perspective to a perspective of changing things and working on the product is still not there. And we believe we can add tremendous value to MSMEs, right from calculating the emissions and the larger goal of creating a network of green supply chain for any big player to come out there and seek, okay, which these are the comparables in terms of emissions, because that is where the world is going to go. And they will come and ask us, hey, can you give me the most green MSME for a particular category which they are supplying? And we'll be able to provide that through the platform.
Is there any question? So, like, now we'll announce the main purpose of this webinar is to just educate and empower our MSME as their backbone of our economy. So, keeping this in mind, we have launched a new initiative called Fitsol Kyoto Net Zero, Net Zero Sathi, where we will select, where we will launch a survey post this webinar, and the first 15 respondents will receive free access to Fitsol Kyoto Platform for the current financial year, and the first 50 respondents will get free access to our Kyoto Copilot for the next 3 months. So we will launch a survey post this webinar, and looking forward to onboard first 15 and first 50 MSME and help them in becoming ESG compliant. Yes, Sidharth. Audible.
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, nothing else from my end. I'm told I think we've communicated whatever that is required from our end.
Shall we conclude or what? Yes. So thank you so much for joining, and looking forward for the feedback, from all of you. And we're happy to onboard the MSMEs, and we're happy to empower in becoming ESG compliant and helping India become net zero Bharat by 2070. Thank you so much once again.
Thanks, folks. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you.